Not me. Please. To understand that sound and why it was a death sentence for that man, we have to go back 72 hours to when a graphic designer named Alex took his first steps through the doors of Graylock Psychiatric Hospital. He didn't know it then, but this wasn't a place for healing. It was a place to be forgotten. Alex never thought he'd end up in a place like this. A severe panic attack in public, a catastrophic misunderstanding by the police, and in a matter of hours, his world of freedom shrank to the four walls of a room painted in yellowing, sickly beige, room 237. Graylock didn't feel like a hospital. It felt more like a tomb, a place forgotten by time and funding, sitting isolated in the middle of a remote West Virginia forest. The air was thick with the scent of antiseptic and despair. Other patients shuffled past him like ghosts, their eyes vacant. The nurses were overworked and indifferent. His phone was confiscated. Every connection to the outside world had been severed. He was utterly alone. The first night passed in a suffocating silence. When the lights in the hall blinked out, leaving only the dim moonlight filtering through the barred window, Alex heard it, faintly, a whistle. An aimless, atonal tune drifting from the far end of the hall. It lasted only a few seconds before vanishing, leaving Alex with a chill crawling up his spine that he couldn't explain. The next morning, the atmosphere in the ward felt even tenser. The man in the room across the hall, who'd been shouting all day yesterday, now sat silently on his bed, staring at the wall. He didn't speak, didn't move, like a hollow shell. The nurses just shook their heads, scribbled in their charts, and gave him a sedative. Psychotic break, they said. But Alex knew something was wrong. During lunch, an old woman named Eleanor, who'd been there so long no one remembered when she arrived, sidled up to Alex's table. Her eyes were wide and alert. "You're new," she whispered, her voice a raspy tremor. "Did you hear it last night? The whistling?" Alex nodded. "Listen to me," Eleanor said. "There are rules here no one tells you. Rules to survive the night. When the lights go out, you don't make a sound. You don't show fear. Your fear, it draws it in. And the most important rule, when you hear the whistle, you never ever look into the hall." "What is it?" Alex asked. "We call it the Whistler," the old woman whispered, her eyes darting around. "It comes in the dark, looking for the most forgotten, the most hopeless. It doesn't take their lives. It takes everything else." That night, Alex lay in bed, his heart hammering against his ribs. He tried to dismiss Eleanor's words as the ramblings of a troubled mind, but when the whistling began again, closer this time, clearer, a primal fear took hold of him. He heard a soft, dragging sound in the hall, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. He squeezed his eyes shut, buried his face in a pillow, and prayed for morning.
A few days passed, and Alex learned to survive. Be silent, be invisible. But a new patient was admitted, a teenager named Sam, who was broken by a family tragedy. The boy was terrified, crying and screaming constantly. His raw grief and terror were like a lighthouse beacon in the oppressive dark of Graylock. Alex tried to comfort him, to subtly pass on Eleanor's warning, but the boy was too lost in his own panic to listen. The nurses simply gave him a powerful sedative. That night, Alex knew something terrible was coming. The whistling started earlier than usual. This time, it wasn't distant. It stopped directly outside Sam's door. Lying paralyzed in his own bed, Alex could hear the faint creak of Sam's door swinging open. He heard the boy's weak, muffled whimper. Against Eleanor's warning, against the fear that was choking him, A morbid curiosity won. Alex slid from his bed and pressed his eye to the thin crack in his own door. He didn't see a monster. He saw a shadow. It was pitch black, unnaturally tall, and bent at impossible angles on the opposite wall, cast by no discernible light source. It had no clear shape, just a void of darkness with long, spindly limbs. Alex watched as the shadow slowly bent over Sam's bed. There was no blood, no violence. He just saw a faint, shimmering mist, like breath on a cold day, being drawn from Sam's open mouth and inhaled by the shadow. The whistling stopped. The shadow receded, melting back into the darkness of the hall. The silence that returned was heavier and more terrifying than ever before. The next morning, Sam was another hollow shell, his eyes soulless. Alex saw his own reflection in the boy. He knew the whistler had scented him. The terror he'd felt after witnessing the event of the previous night had made him the next target. He couldn't wait. He had to get out, now. He found Eleanor. For the first time, he saw not just fear in the old woman's eyes, but a flickering ember of hope. A plan was made. Create a diversion during medication time to distract the nurses and orderlies, then make a run for an old service exit in the abandoned storage wing that Eleanor knew about. As night fell, chaos erupted. Alex and Eleanor plunged into the darkness of the side corridors. Instantly, the whistling began, seeming to surround them. It wasn't just in the hall anymore. It was inside their heads. They weren't running from something they could see. They were running from a sound, from fear itself. Finally, they found the service door. Alex threw his entire body against it, breaking the rusted lock. They burst out, tumbling into the cold night air. Behind them, the door slammed shut. The whistling was cut off abruptly, as if it were trapped forever within the walls of Graylock. They were free. But as they stood on the side of the highway, watching the cars speed past, Alex knew that a part of him had been left behind. They had escaped Graylock, but the sound of that whistle, it would never truly leave them.